have been a clerk and responsible financial officer for almost 16 years. I'm currently clerk to 2 parish councils, Harston in South Cambridgeshire and Swaffham Balbeck in East Cambridgeshire. I started my clerking life at Islesden Parish Council in 2005 and became CLCC qualified in 2008. For those who don't know, CLCC is the Certificate in Local Council Administration. I started work for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Association of Local Councils, or CAPALC, as it's frequently known, in 2009 as a project officer for the Quality Council Award Scheme and became a training officer in 2012. In my role as trainer, I am responsible for the CLCC course, new clerks training, new councillor training, chairmanship training and code of conduct training. I'm going to hand over to Libby to introduce herself.
Okay. I'm Libby White and I've been trained by Diane 7 years ago. I've been clerk and RFO to Long Stanton for all those 7 years. I'm also CLCC qualified. I'm currently working towards my foundation degree in community governance, which finishes this November, so I have deadlines coming up. I'll also be looking to work towards a full degree in community governance over the next 2 years. So if I come to you asking for you to fill out a survey to help with my dissertation, please do join in. I'll need all the help I can get. In addition to Long Stanton, I'm currently locum clerk working for CAPALC. It means that I'm able to assist councils when they're in need of support with the role of clerk at such times as sickness, annual leaves, or at times when the role of clerk has not been filled. In addition to Diane, I'm also a trainer for CAPALC. This afternoon, we're going to just be looking at the role of councillor and clerk, and we see that there's 5 clerks in the room and 2 councillors, and a few more have joined in since. And we're looking at how we can work together to get the best results for your community. And following the presentations, we'll have an opportunity to discuss a few scenarios and do a bit of a question and answer session. And we can feed back to the group. If you want to use the chat room on the side, please pose your questions as we go along. If there's something pertinent to what we're saying, we'll sort of chip in during our presentation. If not, we'll leave it till the end. And obviously, if you can visit the CAPALC stand, or there's no SLCC booth, unfortunately, not this time. But if you want to leave questions there, we can come back to you at some other time.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to speak this afternoon about the role of the councillor. And I'll begin with just a few formalities about the actual structure of the council and then move on to your role, what you do. So a local council is a legal entity in itself, but it is constituted by councillors, at least 5 in England. Those of you who are councillors amongst us will have had to meet certain criteria in order to undertake the role, including being over 18 years of age, living in the parish or within 3 miles of it, or having a business, land or property in the parish. You cannot be a councillor if you have been a paid employee of the council within the last 12 months, are an adjudged bankrupt, or have been convicted of an offence within the last 5 years and imprisoned for a period of not less than 3 months, or having committed any other electoral or financial corrupt or illegal practices. Town and parish councillors are usually elected, contested or uncontested, to serve for a period of 4 years. And a councillor is a holder of public office, not a volunteer. For clarity, I will say at this point that there is no difference in law between a town or a parish councillor. Town and parish councils are all covered by the same legislation. The role of the councillor is established in law through the Local Government Act 1972, and as an elected representative of your community, you have a statutory duty to attend meetings, not to be confused with a voluntary role where you can choose whether or not to attend. If you are unable to attend a meeting, you should submit apologies to the clerk before the meeting, giving a reason for absence, which the council can choose to approve or not, as the case may be. If you do not attend any council meetings for 6 consecutive months without council approval, you will automatically vacate your seat. You also have a duty to sign the Declaration of Acceptance of Office, and in doing so, you agree to comply with the council's code of conduct and are subject to statutory rules about how you conduct yourself as a representative of the council. The following 7 principles apply to the standards of those in public life, which includes councillors. selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty and leadership. The 7 principles are the origins of the legislation in England and Wales that establish the standards of behaviour expected of a councillor as a representative of his local council. You will have, as a councillor, you will have completed a register of interest form held by the district council, and you are required to disclose certain financial or personal interests and restrict your participation and voting at a meeting that is considering a matter in which you hold a financial or other interest. Pecuniary or financial interests also apply to your spouse or civil partner, and that these also have to be declared. Getting underway. So you should undertake training and development to help fulfil the requirements of the councillor role. CAPALC offer a wide range of training courses, as I mentioned above, as well as courses and workshops on elections, annual meetings, finance, planning, cemeteries and allotments. As a town or parish councillor, you should actively contribute to good governance and participate in the formation of the council's policies and plans by active involvement in council meetings, committees and working parties. As a councillor, you are part of a corporate body working together for the good of the local community. You will represent the council to the community and the community to the council using all appropriate means. You will actively encourage community participation and citizen involvement in the work of the council. You may identify and work with local hard-to-reach and underrepresented groups to ensure their views can be identified. You may act as the council's representative on outside bodies and report back on their activities to full council or relevant committee meetings. You will know and have contact with key local stakeholders. You will develop and maintain a working knowledge of organisations, including principal councils operating within the area, which have an impact on the well-being of both the community and the council as a whole. So, powers and duties. To facilitate this work, town and parish councils are able to raise a precept, which is the share of the council tax paid to the parish council by the district council and collected from your residents. As a result of this ability to raise a precept, the council has a number of statutory duties. These include electing a chairman annually, holding a minimum of 4 meetings per year, appointing staff, including the clerk or officer, and appointing a responsible financial officer, appointing an independent internal auditor, and considering crime and disorder implications. So the council should do what it reasonably can do to prevent crime and disorder, the misuse of drugs, alcohol and other substances, and reoffending in its area. Considering biodiversity, for example, when considering planning applications, and considering the provision of allotments if requested to do so by 6 electors. Finally, considering adopting a closed churchyard if asked to do so by the parochial church council. Like all local authorities, local councils can only do what legislation requires or permits them to do. In reality, parish and town councils have an enormous amount of freedom to choose what services and amenities they wish to provide in their communities and has a wide range of discretionary powers available to it. For example, power to light roads, provide litter bins, run a cemetery, provide allotments, provide village halls, community centres and pavilions, provide play areas, bandstands, duck houses, public toilets, public rights of way and public open spaces. There is also a power of last resort, Local Government Act 1972, Section 137, which allows councils to contribute financially to projects that they would otherwise have no power to pay for. For example, flower shows or festivals, exhibitions, Christmas trees, memorial plaques, sports prizes, best kept village competition, Meals on Wheels, to name a few. It's important to state that Section 137 cannot be used to support individuals, although, however, during the pandemic, it has been used to support community organisations, in particular food banks. A council with a general power of competence, which was set up in the Localism Act 2011, is able to undertake any activity that an individual may do unless specifically prohibited by the general power or by other legislation. In order to use the power, a council must have a qualified clerk and have had 2/3 of their councillors elected at the last election or at a subsequent by-election. The general power of competence could be used to support individuals. However, this would need to be very carefully managed by the council. The Localism Act 2011 also introduced the power for a local council to initiate and lead on neighbourhood planning for its area. So in summary, the purpose of the role is to effectively represent the interests of your ward or parish in the decision-making process. Councillors are not expected to possess the knowledge, skills or experience that are required for all aspects of their council's work. Councillors are expected to make informed decisions based on consideration of relevant information. As a councillor, you have no individual power to take action on behalf of the council or the community. However, you may ask for matters to be included for discussion on the agenda or put forward resolutions for consideration. A councillor must not in advance make up his mind as to how he will vote at a meeting, nor risk being perceived to have done so. You should vote on proposals which have been put forward on the agenda for consideration and must abide by the outcome of those decisions, regardless of how you voted. A councillor has no individual accountability for the decisions of the council because he cannot alone make decisions about council business, although he may be at risk of criticism from other councillors or members of the public for his part in those decisions. There may be circumstances when legal proceedings may be issued against a councillor, not the council, because of acts of omission attributable to him or arising from him acting as a representative of the council, if, for instance, he has failed to comply with provisions in the Equality Act, Data Protection Act, or Health and Safety at Work. As a councillor, you should be a channel of communication for the ward or parish and ensure constituents are informed of services available, decisions that affect them, and the reasons for those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. I realise I'm probably preaching to many of the well-converted clerks in this room. So I've been asked to speak to you about the role of parish town clerk, and I'll briefly provide an overview of the role, and then we can look at how we can work together. So in smaller councils where the clerk is the only employee, they will be the proper officer. And as a refresher for you out there, the officer is assigned to a particular task. So what are the responsibilities? We have a little list. So the proper officer will be either the clerk or another member of staff nominated by the council to undertake the work of the proper officer when the proper officer is absent. The proper officer must give at least 3 days before a meeting of the council notice of a meeting, and that does not include a bank holiday, Sunday, day of national mourning, national holiday, the day the notice is put up, or the day of the meeting. Committee or subcommittee also will have an agenda, and these are delivered to councillors by delivery or post at their residences or by email or send, as long as they have approved that method, and they will be signed confirming the time, place of the meeting with the agenda. The notice to attend a meeting is placed in a conspicuous place detailing the time and place, and councillors should understand where these notices are displayed, normally in most villages or towns, notice boards and website. The proper officer will receive and retain plans and documents on behalf of the council and will sign notices and other documents on the council's behalf. They will receive copies of bylaws made by the council. It's their responsibility to convene a meeting of the council if a casual vacancy in the office of chairman occurs. They will keep proper records of council meetings, otherwise known as the minutes, receive declarations of acceptance of office for councillors at times of election or co-option, and for the chairman each year at the annual meeting. It is their responsibility to receive and record notices disclosing interests, whether personal or pecuniary, at meetings, and advise if they have dispensation to speak. Arranging or managing the prompt authorisation, approval and instruction regarding to any payments to be made by the council in accordance with its financial regulations. They will manage access to information about the council via the publication scheme, a model document which is provided by the Information Commissioner's Office. They will include on the agenda all motions in the order received, unless the councillor has given written notice 5 days before the meeting confirming withdrawal. They will allow inspection of the minute book by local government electors as necessary. Where requests have been made under freedom of information legislation and rights exercisable under data protection legislation, they will supply a response in accordance with the council's relevant policies and procedures. If necessary, they will communicate with the council's data protection officer, and the proper officer will receive and send general correspondence and notices on behalf of the council unless there is a resolution to the contrary. They will assist in the organisation of, storage of, access to, security of, and destruction of all information held by the council in paper and electronic form, subject to the requirements of data protection and freedom of information legislation. The proper officer will arrange for legal deeds to be executed, and they will retain custody of the seal of council, if there is one, which will not be used without a resolution to that effect. So that was a proper officer, but the clerk, same person, remembering it's quite often the same person, will advise and guide the council, keeping within the law. It is the role of the clerk to undertake to implement the decisions and policies of the council, even if they do not agree with the decision made. The clerk is the main contact for members of the public. They are independent advisors providing essential information and do not make decisions unless delegated the power to do so, which is essential in an emergency situation. Consider the clerk as the chief exec in the county or district council, where the CEO is head of administration and therefore responsible for all the work carried out within that function. But don't panic. Clerks realise the differences in scale. The clerk may also be the responsible financial officer, commonly known as the RFO, who is responsible for the administration of the council's financial affairs. This responsibility includes to arrange for payments in accordance with the council's financial regulations. They will bank receipts in a timely manner, keep track of any debts owed to the council, ensure that regular returns are made to HMRC as necessary, and ensure the regular recovery of VAT if the council is not VAT registered. If the council has other members of staff, the clerk will be their line manager, responsible for all HR issues. The clerk will organise the insurance arrangements and maintain the requirements of the Code of Conduct. They will organise the budget process, issue the precept required by the district council. It is hoped the clerk will attend training and read ongoing legal topic notes to keep updated on changes in the sector or legislation. This is a quick plug. It's beneficial for the clerk to be a member of the CLCC to assist in this area. The clerk to the council is non-partisan and independent. Essentially, the clerk advises on lawfulness, but the RFO will advise on prudence. So you've come along to this workshop to understand a little bit about collaborative working, and councillors should take fully into account the advice and guidance given to them by the clerk on the existence and applicable nature of relevant facts or law, even where it's contrary to their personal wishes or expectations. Collaborative working will mean that the clerk and the chairman will ensure that they understand what is on the agenda for a meeting, what it means if it is legal. The chairman will ensure that all councillors are given the opportunity to speak at meetings. Councillors will work together in meetings, on committees or working groups, and complete tasks they have agreed to do. It's anticipated that councillors will be informed on diverse local views, understanding the parish and town they present, working together for the benefit of the community. You have been asked to just sort of talk about the council working together, but you can go further. You work with other organisations within the parish to promote positive working relationships with other bodies. These could be your district council, county council, other parish and town councils, charities, community groups or sports groups. Working together, you can enrich the service delivery within your community. Excellent communication skills are required. Don't just tell your community what you're doing, get them to take part. Okay.
Okay. We've actually got a short video that we'd like to try and show you. So we're going to do that and then we'll move on. Give me a thumbs up when you can see it. All good.
For me, it was about giving something
We can't
back
hear
to my
it.
local community. Having relocated back to Colford in the Forest of Dean in 2001, I felt I wanted to get involved and really give something back. For me, it was about giving something back to my local community. Having relocated back to Colford in the Forest of Dean in 2001, I felt I wanted to get involved and really give something back, and I was passionate about the area. And in 2015 we stood through a formal election process. So that was really satisfying, because I had to fight an election campaign, I had to engage with the community, I had to make pledges, and that's really given some focus in terms of what I wanted to deliver during these 4 years. Currently I am chair of Colford Town Council. I'm in my second year in that role, so that also gives me the privilege of the title of Mayor of Colford. So, as well as chairing the full council meetings, I also have responsibility for some committees under the council. So I chair our Finance and Office Committee, where we set all of the budgets, manage all of the staffing matters, look at grants for the community, and also chair the Events and Marketing Committee, because we recognise the importance of events in terms of rejuvenating the local economy. So as a council, we do budget significant amounts of money back to putting on town centre events to bring people into the community. Probably focus on the current term of office, so the term from 2015 onwards. And one of the very first things we did in my role as Deputy Mayor at the time was to look at a strategic 4-year plan for both the council and for the town. So I facilitated that, brought all councillors and staff with me in terms of generating ideas for that plan. Very informal post-it note sessions to actually get everyone involved. And through that, we've delivered significant steps forward for the town. Some examples: we are now twinned with a town in the Vendée of France. We've opened our own tourist information centre, fully staffed and run by volunteers. And I think the most significant achievement will be the delivery of our £1 million recreational scheme, the Bells Field, which opened in September of this year.
Up. You'll be able to ask. Oh, can you hear me now? Becky's typing. Yes, excellent. So Diane has fallen off the internet. So we were going to do a breakout room, but what we'll do now is we'll do question and answers. So I've changed the system, so hopefully you'll be able to ask to speak. And what I'll do is I'll put up some scenarios on the screen, hopefully, and we'll sort of do a bit of a brainstorming on there. And then we'll sort of move on to any questions and answers you may have. So just bear with me while I pull up our scenarios.
I'm here.
Oh, you're back. Welcome, Diane.
I'm back. Sorry, my whole thing just went off. How very awkward.
Okay, so we're back. So we'll do this as you can pipe up, you can ask to speak. When you do that, you just need to click on your microphone and it'll show us that you want to speak, and you can help pipe in. Is that not going to work, Diane? Oh, you're muted.
There's only 9 people in here.
Hello.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my screen, Libby. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. So are we going to do this in the group now?
Yes, we're going to do it in the group now.
Have you opened it so that people can answer questions?
Yes, hopefully. It should work. We have practiced as people. Okay, so the first question we've got up here is about facilitating. So an active council helps the community by working in partnership with other public, private and voluntary organisations, including neighbouring parishes. There is strength in numbers. If you were creating a community orchard, describe the essential roles of the clerk and councillors, and which partners would you suggest? Anyone got any ideas? You want to pipe up? Well, come on then, Linda, you've created one. If you click on your little microphone in the attendees, we should be able to allow you to speak.
I've pressed unmute all, hopefully.
There we go. There you are. Now, can you... Who have we got? Is that Becky?
Right. Yes, I'm here.
Hello. Oh, I thought it was Linda that came up. That's a bit strange. Did you want to speak, Becky?
Well, it was Linda who came up, but we're applying to do one through the Zero Carbon Grant Scheme.
Oh, excellent.
So that would be your district council maybe approach.
It would be, absolutely. Yep.
Can you hear me? Have I come through on the microphone yet?
Oh, that is someone. Is that Helen?
No, is that me, Linda?
Oh, hello, Linda. Yep. I see you. Yep.
Well, we used some Section 106 outdoor community facilities funding from the parish council to help sort a lease out on the land for our community orchard.
Oh, this is terrible.
And the group have just put a big application into the district council Zero Carbon Communities Fund for some further work on the land that they want to do. Did you hear all of that?
Yep, indeed. Yep.
Good.
That's excellent. Anyone else?
We spoke to some local community groups who they have done a community garden in one of the surrounding parishes, so we spoke to them as well.
Oh, excellent. So you've got the community groups or youth groups?
Community groups.
Yeah. Excellent. So you've got an orchard then, or you're still applying for it?
We're still applying, so fingers crossed.
Excellent. Oh, that's lovely. So you don't know if you've got the money yet?
No.
Or how much have you applied for?
It was about 12,000 all in all, with ground clearance, etc., etc.
Oh, lovely. Okay, that's lovely. And where are you, Becky? Where's that?
Barrington.
Okay, yep.
So we own the land, so that's something you might have to check whether you can't just put it anywhere, I suppose. Check with the landowner, or if you are the landowner.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Be nice if I think Linda, if you're still there, you got the land, didn't you? Was it given to you?
We were given a lease on the land. We've got a 25-year lease on the land. The landowner didn't want to sell, so the only land cost we had was legal costs in sorting out the lease.
Okay.
If I can add, with regard to the trees, the community group who's now managing day-to-day the orchard, they went to an organisation called Orchards East, which had lottery heritage funding through the University of East Anglia, and we received 40 fruit trees free of charge through that project. So that was a huge boost to us. And then we just went out to the community about this time last year, about October-ish last year. And on one Saturday, we had an enormous amount of people, families, little tiny tots, as well as older people, turn up on the Saturday morning. And literally within 2 hours, they had dug all the holes and planted all the trees. It's fantastic.
That's amazing. Might not be quite so easy this year.
It might not. We thought it was going to be pretty hard going last year, but it's okay.
Yeah, excellent. Is there anyone else that wants to say anything on this for this one that we've got on the screen now, or should we move on to the next one? Okay, we'll move on. So the next one is play area inspections. So the clerk lives outside of the parish. She works from home and has limited working hours per week. The parish council has a play area, and to save paying the clerk to come over to inspect the play area, one of the councillors has offered to carry out the weekly visual inspections on the clerk's behalf. The councillor in question lives adjacent to the play area and looks at the playground equipment by leaning over from his side of the garden wall, but does not complete any paperwork. If he thinks some remedial work is required, he telephones the clerk, Otherwise, that is all. Questions are, is this sufficient? If not, why not? And what would you recommend should happen?
No.
No, it's not.
No, not sufficient.
If something happens, you've got no proof that your equipment was ever checked by anybody.
Yeah.
Agree with that.
Yeah. Do you do your playground inspections, or do you have someone else that does them?
This is Linda. My village handyman does them, and he does them on a weekly basis. And he writes the comments and notes things down on his weekly timesheet, which comes to me.
Yeah.
He's also been on play area inspection training as well.
I've done that one as well. It's a good one, that one. It opens your eyes a little bit. But yes, I think what Linda's hinted on there, that you do need paperwork. You do need to record what you're doing, what you've seen, and you do need to keep that for 21 years, 25 years. I think I've just allowed John to speak, hopefully. Is John there?
Yeah, can you hear me, Libby? I'm very pleased I've worked out how to do it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're very quiet.
Oh, all right. I've just come closer to it. I would have thought that managing or inspecting a play area, given the safety aspects, are there any specific? Because we might have a new play area ourselves fairly soon. There must be. Are there some minimum qualifications or certifications required for somebody to be certified to inspect a play area?
There are. I mean, you can have. I think Linda, is your handyman done training?
Yes, he did.
He has. Yes. So there is visual playground inspection training available, and it's a one-day course. I did it a few years ago, and it covers you for the next 3 years, and that's through the RPII, and I can't remember what that stands for. But it allows you to go and do a visual inspection. It's not the sort of inspection that you would have ROSPA do, or a company who comes and looks at all the nuts and bolts. It's literally going around and making sure you can't see something hanging off, there's nothing broken to cause a problem. So it's something you would do on a weekly basis.
But would you then have a ROSPA inspection once a year? Would you?
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you.
We have one. Someone go on.
This is Becky. It is worth doing. We had a couple of weeks ago, nobody saw who it was, but they decided to try and undo all the bolts on the bottom of the swing seats. So some of them, if you had sat on them, the seat could have come off, and our inspector saw it and he said, I went back because he's qualified, also our handyman, and tightened them all up again.
Oh, blimey. Yeah, it does show things. But when you do the training, you are taking the playgrounds to actually do it properly. So it's hands-on experience. But you do need to fill out a form each time you do it, just so that you've got that paper record should anything crop up in the future. Johnny, where are you? Are you a councillor or?
Councillor, yes.
You're
right.
a councillor, and where are you?
Bottisham.
Okay. I think there is I don't know if they're doing the courses online. I don't know how they're going to do them at the moment, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for courses when they come up.
Yeah, well, we haven't built the playground yet, so
okay.
But that's worth bearing in mind for when we do that.
Definitely look at it for next year or when it's up and running. Okay. Anything else in this playground scenario, or should we move on? Okay, third one, budget and precept setting. The clerk has not produced a budget as usual because he lacks time to produce one. However, he recommends setting the precept for the same amount for the next financial year at £20,000, as this seems to be a reasonable amount and wouldn't ruffle parishioners too much. Is this an acceptable practice? If not, why not? And what would you suggest?
No.
No, definitely not.
No.
Why not? I don't understand.
You need to have some idea of what your finances are, whether you're expecting anything in the next year. You need to look at the last year's finances just to see where you are against the budget. Were you right? you know, maybe you're paying your clerk too much, and that could get you into trouble in this scenario. And you need to plan. So, you know, things like play equipment doesn't last forever. We have storms. You could have an issue with a tree or anything, and you need to know that you can finance whatever needs doing, even the unexpected things.
Absolutely.
You can't spend money on items that you haven't got budget headings for or budget allocated to. So therefore, if you haven't set a budget and put some money aside for certain things and something comes up during the year, you're scuppered.
Yeah.
You also need to be able to show it's public funds, so you need to be able to show your residents the financial planning, and your internal auditor will see if you've set a budget.
Yeah,
because your precept is brought in through the section of the council tax, and your residents are paying for that, so they need to know what they're paying for and how you're planning to spend their money.
It's Helen here. Another comment might be, if the clerk doesn't actually have enough time to produce the budget, should the council actually consider how many hours the clerk's been paid for? Because if there's not enough time, then that would suggest he's not being employed for the correct amount of hours.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
I mean, Textiles is a small council, so you could assume that he'll be on smaller hours. And I do 30 for Longstanton, and that's not always enough. So, any other comments on that one?
I think that, just to comment, I think this is helpful because at Bodisham we've always had a finance committee which puts together budget.
Yeah.
I wasn't so clear until you've actually said that. Actually, the whole of the budget, the person who's responsible for that budget, ultimately is the RFO. Is that what you're saying here?
They should be working on it, but at the end of the day, what you agree, the council agrees at time of setting precept. So you need to be involved, but it's not the clerk, responsible financial officer, will sit there and should work on something to present to you for you then to work on further.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? Excellent. Right, I'm going to see if I can close this now.
Ooh. Diane's going to see if she can open the other one. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Lovely. It's our new favourite saying, isn't it? Can you hear me? I don't know what was going on there. I don't know whether it was my signal or whether the whole programme. Could everybody hear each other clearly? Because
we could hear you.
It was me. Okay, so I don't know quite what's wrong with my system. So what I'm going to do is run through a few questions, again, to generate a bit more discussion. And then, I mean, there's quite a long while left on this session, and not so many of you, so I'm not sure whether we might finish a bit early, whether we're allowed to actually do that. But we'll click into the questions and we'll talk them through and see where we go from there. Right, basic questions, present. Okay, so hopefully you can all see those. All right, so a councillor proposes at a meeting that power to decide on a certain issue should be delegated to the chairman. What action should be taken?
Well, presumably you pass a resolution, do you?
I didn't think that just one councillor could make decisions.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy with that as the clerk.
I wouldn't either. It's got to be a joint decision. You can delegate to an officer if there's powers there and budget allocated, but I didn't think an individual councillor could make a decision.
No, absolutely not. So an individual councillor, not even the chairman, can make a decision. They're not able to act alone. So power can only be delegated to an officer or a committee or a subcommittee. So thank you for that. Sorry, did you want to say something, John?
No, it's fine. That's really helpful. Very helpful.
Okay, thank you. So both the chairman and vice chairman declare a pecuniary interest in a particular item during the council meeting. What happens next?
Okay, it's Linda here. If they've both got interests where they can't take part in the discussion and maybe have to leave the room if that's what standing orders include, then the remaining councillors have to elect a chair for that particular item.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would. And the chairman would absolutely have to leave the meeting, because if he was still in the room, he would actually technically, legally have to take the chair. So in that circumstance, he would absolutely have to leave the meeting.
Sorry.
Oh, bless you. Okay, everybody happy with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Several councillors have been appointed by the council as village hall trustees. Other trustees are not councillors. Can councillors speak and vote on village hall matters which come before the council?
No.
No, that's an
Direct
interesting.
interest.
Well, no, actually. Anybody got a different view to that?
I think it comes down to whether they've got if they've got power in terms of being the chairman or something like that on the village hall trustee committee.
Well, in my parish council, we've got four, I think it is, parish councillors on the trustees of the village hall. Only one is a nominated council representative trustee. But usually, when items come up on parish council agendas, it's because it's to do with funding or granting. So therefore, there's financial interest in it. So it's immediate financial bias.
But
So
it's not a personal financial interest, is it? So
No, it isn't.
they can actually speak and vote is the answer to the question.
Oh, right.
Because they've been appointed by the council as its agents, the councillors would not have a personal pecuniary interest in the matter. Obviously, it depends what code of conduct your council has adopted and whether it says anything specifically in that. And also, you need to remember that it is the councillor's responsibility to decide what kind of interest they have. So if they feel, for whatever reason, they want to declare it, then they're obviously free to do so, but they don't actually have to.
Thank you, Diane, because usually my trustee councillors stand back and don't vote on any grants.
Don't vote. No. Thank you. Okay, and finally, before we open the questions to you or comments or whatever on what we spoke about earlier, the caretaker of the community hall, which is owned by the town council, retires, and the only person willing to take the job is a councillor. Is this possible?
I don't think a councillor can be employed by the council.
That's right, they can't. Well, they could. It would have to be an unpaid post. If somebody is keen to do that. What? Anybody got any further comments on that? There's a little bit more information here if you want me to just say. Basically, also you could create a temporary post, a temporary unpaid post, and the councillor could, if he wished, resign and wait 12 months before making that into a paid position.
I am so sorry. I've got to go and do the school run.
That's quite all right. Who's that? Sorry.
It's Becky.
Oh, Becky. Well, thank you very much for taking part, Becky. Much appreciated.
Nice to talk to you all. Have a nice weekend. Take care.
Yeah, and you. Okie doke.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so I can see that we've got a question here from Isabel, who has said, what is a good salary for the clerk and how can we go about recruiting a new clerk and also ensure a good handover? So I assume you're a councillor, Isabel. Hang on, I think I've got a letter. Yeah, okay, doke. Yeah, Isabel, would you like to elaborate a little bit? Thank you. Oh dear. Oh. I'm not quite sure what's squeaking. Is that oh, how very strange. Can you hear us, Isabel?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I couldn't hear Isabel other than lots of squeaks.
No, so hang on a minute. Yes, we are getting feedback. Yes, she's asked. Yeah, okay. Okay, she's going to type. So first of all, she has asked what is a good salary for a clerk and how could we go about recruiting a new clerk and also ensure a good handover. Okay, so their clerk wants to retire. So the NALC and SLCC produce a salary scale for parish clerks, and that scale is appropriate to the type of parish council you've got. So the very smaller councils may be on one of the lower tiers of salary, and the town councils tend to be much more toward the top end of that. I don't know if you're using the NALC SLCC contract and pay scales. Do you know that, Isabel? I just want to say yes or no in the box. Don't know. Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, it's certainly worth finding out. So basically, you can get that information from CAPALC, if you're all from the SLCC, if you're a member of either of those organisations. So that would give you a starting point for finding out, you know, what the salary range is for clerks, and then depending on the size of your council, you will make a decision, or the council will make a decision on what salary scale they're going to offer. Libby, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you are a member of CAPALC, you do get an hour's HR assistance in your year. So there is that support there available, and they can support you in doing a bit of recruitment and getting the documents ready. I don't know how long your clerk's been with you. If it's something that they've been there for a while, you might want to look at how they do a handover. Ideally, what you want to do is try and have that handover to smooth it out. Oh, yes, a long time. Okay. What if we know where you are? You want to have a handover so that all that knowledge that clerk has, or a lot of it, does get handed over. From experience, if you get dropped in it, it is very difficult. To have someone hand it over and explain what goes on, what happens, where the assets are that you look after, it makes it so much easier. So yeah, some sort of handover. Are they retiring? No.
No grants.
Are they retiring soon, Isabel? Or is it in a while?
Libby, could I just add, this is John here.
Hi, John.
In the process of recruiting a new clerk.
Okay.
Used Rod Lee, who is the consultant, and found him absolutely excellent. We got many more than 1 hour out of him for no money, and he's been absolutely excellent. We couldn't have done it without him, so I would really commend Isabel to ask Penny to CAPALC to put you in touch with Rod Lee, and he'll take you through the whole process. And we actually rewrote a complete new clerk's contract with Rod, which he said, as far as he's got a model contract now, which he wants to use with other councils. So do talk to him, and he'll really be very helpful for you. Save you a lot of pain.
Yeah, he's fantastic, actually. I've been working with him for a while, so definitely one, if you are a member of CAPALC, it is about to speak to Penny and get in contact with Rod. He can help looking at the role and tell you roughly where you need to be if you're not sure, if you haven't got that experience. But I really would stress that your current clerk, if they are giving you that heads up that they're looking to potentially retire, that they do help to support someone taking over that role. Okay, does that help? I'm hoping so.
Yeah, she has said thanks for your help, and they are members of CAPALC.
Yes,
that's
brilliant. I see
you.
Teresa's typing now, so
okay.
Has anyone else got any other questions while we wait for Teresa? Yes, definitely, Teresa. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah.
So anyone else got anything? Have you got any examples of how you've done collaborative work? They give me the difficult words to say. Your parish, yeah. You have lots of consultations. Brilliant. I have. I'm going to blow my own trumpet a bit now. We've in my studies that I've been doing, I've been looking at something, and I found this amazing ladder that this person called Arnstein illustrated back in 1969, and it shows how we communicate with our parishioners. And I thought we were doing really, really well until I realised that what we were doing was tokenism. And what we're doing is, it's that consultation. We're asking people questions, we're giving them lots of information, but not actually getting them to really participate. And that's what the collaboration is, you know, really getting involved with, getting people involved in all aspects. So Isabel said, can councillors take over writing some of the consultations or
responses to consultations? Yeah, not really. That is primarily the clerk's role. I mean, obviously the clerk can gather responses from the councillors and from the parish council meeting, but really it is the clerk's role to undertake the administration work for the council. I don't know if anyone's got anything to add to that. Linda, you might have something to say about that. You've got quite a lot of experience of
yeah, we've done a few consultations, and yes, I've mostly drafted them, written them, and then talked through the council to get them to what we're about to undergo. We're going to be doing a massive one fairly soon. Very similar to Libby, you've just putting one out for your new potential community centre. We're going to be producing or providing a brand new sports ground over the next few years in the village. So, yeah, there's a lot of work to do on it.
Thank you, Linda. That's helpful. Are there any other questions from anybody or comments about what we talked about earlier? Any thoughts on what the role of the councillor? Any questions about that, or the role of the clerk?
I would just say that I've worked well with my councillors in that we have small working groups when we're looking at projects or doing consultations or looking to work in collaboration with another group in the village. Usually I pull 2 councillors in on a little working group so that we go and look at what needs doing some initial discussions, talk things around before we bring things back to full council to discuss, and that works well. And that's a good way of helping to share some of the load. I know it is primarily the clerk's role for the administration work, but to bring councillors in and be involved in it, and it does help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my councils, or both of my councils, in fact, currently have working groups as opposed to committees, and for that very purpose, so that you have got the opportunity to collaborate on things and put information together, reports together that the council can consider. So yeah, thank you for that. That's really helpful. Is there anything else?
Diane, can I ask a question? This is not really slightly a sideways thing.
That's fine.
Taken on a new clerk, and he's absolutely excellent. He's also clerk from an adjoining council. And I've just got some question in my mind is, you know, how you, I mean, for instance, if you became a member of SLCC, for instance, which is not currently, would it be appropriate for the 2 councils to make a contribution towards SLCC membership?
Absolutely.
12 hours for one and 6 for them. So would the appropriate way be to do it? You know, we pay for 2/3 of it and they pay for 1/3.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfectly acceptable. I mean, my 2 councils actually, they're different in size, but they do pay half each of my SLCC membership. The important thing to remember is that SLCC membership is for the clerk. CAPALC membership is for the council, so you couldn't share the membership of CAPALC with another council.
I mean, the other thing, he was just talking about a new computer program. It's a mapping tool which he's just got from the adjoining council. It's cost £70 a year, and I thought, well, surely we could, you know, go in with the cost of the subscription, and so that we haven't got 2 councils both paying a subscription. But I don't know whether that would be appropriate, whether each council as a separate entity should both have a separate subscription.
Subscription to what? I'm sorry, I missed
the mapping tool.
The mapping tool.
Yeah. I don't know what the legalities are of these things.
That would depend on the software company, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say probably I would contact Parish Online about it, or whoever it is, and actually ask them the question.
Yeah.
I know certainly on the finance package, I think that there is some sort of package in place, isn't there? If you work for more than one council, potentially you can share the cost of some of that. So it might be the same with that.
So what was the item you can there's a package. What was what you referring to just now, that where you can share it?
Accounts packaging. So if you have accounts, I think it's Scribe do discounts. I think the Realtors may do as well. I don't know about other packages, to be honest, but
basically they're specific. If you go into the booths, as it were, there is a stand for Realtors, and I think one for Scribe as well. And they, depending on the size of your council, you may not think it's necessary, but they do offer accounting packages for parish councils that, you know, where we enter all the data, but it sort of divides it up into all the right places, basically, for your year end.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else, or how are we doing?
generally a quiet bunch.
They are.
It's Friday afternoon. They've just had their lunch.
I know.
The buffet wasn't too much to be shouted about.
All right. How have you found the conference overall?
Okay, it's Linda. It's worked. This is the second one of these I've been online. I did the Scribe Fest a couple of weeks ago, and that worked very well in a similar way to this. You could dip in and out of whichever workshops or talks you wanted to, or you could have them sort of burbling on in the background if you're doing something else as well, and listening to them and taking part and the chatting and the asking questions. They do seem to work reasonably well.
It's not quite the same as all sitting having lunch together, is it? I thought that.
No, the networking is gone in it.
That's right. The network is missing. Yeah, it's a great pity. Yeah,
but it worked okay in the marketplace today. I made 2 connections with the sport. I can't remember what they're called now. Simon Living Sport. And also about the Fend and Biosphere project, and I haven't heard of that one before. And the chat with that and the information that came through worked well with it.
Oh, good. Okay, I've just moved downstairs to see if my signal's any better because keep losing.
I do that all the time, Diane. Upstairs, downstairs. Phone works upstairs, doesn't work downstairs, etc. Yeah,
I've checked my internet speed and it's all fully functioning, so I don't quite know what's happening. But I'm missing some of the conversation. Okay. I'm not. Are we allowed to finish if everybody's finished? I don't know. I mean, in theory, there's a half an hour to go. But unless anybody's really got anything else they want to talk about, I don't want to make you all sit here for another half an hour staring at me and Libby.
Another half an hour.
Oh dear. So what do you think, Libby? By the way, did everybody see that video? Because I put it on and then I got cut off.
Yeah.
It all worked, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good news then, because I didn't see it at all.
Surprised how well it worked.
Oh, good.
The sound was a bit weak, but it still managed to pick it up.
It was weak even without it being on the conference.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We think Balk needs to make some new ones.
Yes, we do.
Or we need to make some actually local.
Yeah, exactly. Make some in the county. We've talked about that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Right, I think Isabel's disappeared off.
Yeah, I mean, unless, as I say, I think unless anybody's got anything else they want to say or talk about, we might as well. It's just about an hour, coming up to an hour. So if people are happy, we'll.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's very good. Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming.
Thank you.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. My goodness, that was a complete nightmare. No, it wasn't. Hold on, we've still got to.